Dear colleagues, good afternoon. Please take your seats. I call this meeting of the General Committee on Political Affairs and Security to order. I welcome the delegates, ask them to switch off their mobile phones. Colleagues, the draft agenda of this meeting has been circulated. It foresees that we deal with the 5 supplementary items, at least so far as we can, starting with the counter-terrorism one, the 10 years after the war in Georgia, number 2, then strengthening the approach to security sector governance and reform, number 3. As number 4, we will take the Belgian resolution supplementary item reaffirming commitments and guarantees of effective operation of OSCE. And the last one will be the one of Mrs. Barnett, strengthening the visibility of OSCE Parliamentary Assembly within the national parliaments of participating states. It will be the last one, and there should be no debate since there are no amendments which have been introduced to these supplementary item. I now consider that the agenda has been adopted. May I? So decided. We made good time this morning and agreed the main resolution. I am hoping that we can make good progress on our 5 supplementary items this afternoon, where debate is allowed by the rules. Please note that it was foreseen that speakers should register this morning to the Secretariat for taking the floor. Since the rule was not clear for everybody, I allow now 5 minutes for those who like to announce themselves as a speaker on the different supplementary items. If someone is not yet inscribed and would like to do, may come here to the Secretariat, and Mr. Loïc Poulain will take note of this. We start with the first one, first supplementary item, preventing and countering terrorism, violent extremism, and radicalization that leads to terrorism. There is one amendment to this item. So I start now by giving the floor to Mr. Makis Voridis from Greece, sponsor of this draft supplementary item. Mr. Voridis, you have the floor.
Thank you, dear President. As you know, our Parliamentary Assembly 1 year ago has decided to create an ad hoc committee in order to address the complex, challenging and very sensitive issue of confronting terrorism. Now, after this year of work of the committee, this supplementary item that I present to you today is actually created by the work of the committee and my colleagues in this committee, but also it is based on an initiative which was launched by 2017 by the Austrian chairmanship of the OSCE. Now, the Austrian chairmanship, after a lot of efforts and a lot of debates, have concluded at the document which was presented at the Permanent Council and which actually managed to bridge all different angles, views on this difficult and sensitive issue. Unfortunately, the executive structures of OSCE did not manage to adopt this resolution just because one member state decided to block this resolution, not because they had a true difference or a true different opinion on any point of this resolution, but on the contrary, for, let's say, political reasons. That's when we decided that this effort should be continued by the Parliamentary Assembly for 2 main reasons. One, that this document was actually a very inclusive document which dealt with all different aspects of counterterrorism. The second reason was because we wanted to work closely with OSCE executive structures. And the third reason is to show that where you have a lack of determination and result in the executive structures, it's the Parliamentary Assembly that can replace this void and can show the determination of parliaments where governments really failed to achieve, to arrive at a specific conclusion. So now I present to you this draft resolution, which touches upon a wide range of topics concerning terrorism and violent extremism and radicalization that leads to terrorism. In particular, after condemning terrorism and world and emphasizing the need of joint and coordinated approach to prevent and fight them, it deals with issues such as the implementation of relevant international commitments, including United Nations Security Council resolutions, the protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms, border control, information sharing at all levels, foreign fighters and challenges stemming from their return, radicalization and de-radicalization policies, countering extremist narratives, the role of civil society, religious leaders, youth and the private sector, the financing of terrorism and the links between terrorist networks and organized crime and cyber threats. Of course, we have made this document in a way that it focuses on the role of national parliaments in fighting terrorism and on how the Parliamentary Assembly our Assembly can best contribute in this field, including through the work of our committee. Finally, I would like to thank the 39 members from 19 different participating states who supported this supplementary item. Special thanks also to our rapporteur in this committee, which comprised in his report the work of the committee and the high priority that our Assembly gives in addressing the challenge of terrorism and counter-terrorist policies. And in my view, this speaks loud and clear in favor of the cross-dimensionality and relevance of this topic for the entire Parliamentary Assembly and, of course, for the security of the citizens. I look forward to your comments and questions, and I really want to thank you all for the great support you are giving to the effort being done by our committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Voridis. The item is recognized as being a central sorrow for all the participating states, for OSCE, for the world, and it is very important. I'm glad that we decided 1 year ago to establish this ad hoc committee, and I'm very glad that we now have the first results of this work in the form of a supplementary item. We will now open the floor for debate. The time limit for speeches is 3 minutes. 3 minutes. If there are, well, we have a reasonable number of speakers, and I think we will manage, so we will stay with the 3 minutes, so prepare yourself for this 3 minutes time. At the end, of course, we will give Mr. Voridis the possibility of a reply, and then we will move on the amendments. We start with Mr. Richard Hudson, United States of America. No, Mr. Hudson. We go on with Mr. Nestor Shufrich, Ukraine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Спасибо докладчику за его прекрасную инициативу определить одну из основных угроз, которая сегодня существует в регионе, это угроза терроризма. Безусловно, сопутствующая составляющая терроризма – это радикализм. Радикализм имеет несколько характеристик, и, к сожалению, мы их уже наблюдаем в Украине. Я не могу не обратить внимание, как человек, который имеет в себе венгерскую и словацкую кровь, и который переживает за конституционные права граждан Украины, в том числе и в праве воспользоваться своим языком в учебе и во всех сферах действия, как это гарантируется 10 статьей Конституции Украины. Так получилось, что наших ромов, цыган, моих земляков, закарпатцев недавно убили под Львовом, когда они в силу своих этнических традиций странствовали по Украине. Если бы это было одно нападение, то это было бы исключение. Но это было уже 6-е нападение на ромов, которое закончилось убийством. Кроме этого, есть, к сожалению, факты подрыва Дома культуры этнических венгров в городе Ужгороде, в моем родном городе. Безусловно, на этом фоне невыполнение Минских соглашений демонстрирует, что власть заинтересована в радикализации общества. И, безусловно, я сегодня переживаю за саму возможность реализации Минских соглашений. В свое время с Виктором Медведчуком и с госпожой Хайди Телевини в 2014 году, 20 июня, нам удалось добиться первого перемирия. Оно продержалось 10 дней. 74 погибших было на то время. Гривня была в 3 раза сильнее. На сегодняшний день мы помним, как господин Штайнмайер призывал 1 июля, после того, как Порошенко принял единоличное решение выйти из режима перемирия и решить этот конфликт в военный способ, а хочу напомнить, перемирие было под эгидой ОБСЕ. 23 и 27 июня встретились представители Донбасса, России, Украины и ОБСЕ и начали переговоры. Погибших 74 человека. Сегодня тысячи погибших. Власть боится ответственности за это свое решение и поэтому понимает, что возврат к мирному столу потребует их ответственности. Власть спекулирует на теме войны, а на самом деле мародерствует. Кроме этого, власть не заинтересована вернуть 3 миллионам наших граждан право голосовать, потому что эти люди никогда не проголосуют за них. И вчера я уже сконцентрировал внимание на том, что появляется 4-я угроза. Власть может, и мы подозреваем и переживаем за это, спровоцировать эскалацию с единственной целью – перенести президентские и парламентские выборы в 2019 году. Потому что как власти у нее нет шансов переизбраться. Я очень переживаю за ситуацию в Украине. Надеюсь на вашу поддержку. Надеюсь на то, что права всех национальных меньшин будут защищены. Имбеселек модеру, говорим словенщину. И я горжусь этим. И сегодня я говорю на языке, который принят ОБСЕ. Спасибо за внимание. Верю, что наша решительность остановит эскалацию в Украине. Спасибо.
Thank you, Mr. Šuфрич. We move to Mr. Leonid Slutsky, Fédération de Russie.
Большое спасибо, господин председатель. И я хочу прежде всего поблагодарить господина Варидиса за очень системный и профессиональный доклад. Мы должны сейчас объединять усилия в борьбе с главным злом 21-го столетия, международным терроризмом, а также с насильственным экстремизмом и радикализацией, ведущих к терроризму. Уверен, что 21-е столетие будет веком парламентской дипломатии. И у нас, как у Организации по безопасности и сотрудничеству в Европе, есть все возможности, чтобы сконцентрировать потенциал парламентов наших стран и объединить усилия, которые действительно приведут к искоренению в Европе этой самой страшной угрозы нашему будущему. Уверен, что мы могли бы рассмотреть новые форматы, мы могли бы проводить конференции и семинары в период между нашими сессиями, мы могли бы привлекать экспертов из стран, которые подверглись терроризму, где совершены были террористические акты представителями незаконных мигрантов, где, к сожалению, были применены те непозволительные с точки зрения закона стран-участниц ОБСЕ террористические методы, которые, к сожалению, распространяются очень быстро на территорию нашего континента. И, конечно, мы должны, как об этом говорится в резолюции, признавать центральную роль Организации Объединенных Наций в предотвращении и пресечении терроризма, как и, в принципе, мы должны признавать безальтернативность Организации Объединенных Наций в мировой архитектуре и в том числе в тех вопросах, которые мы исследуем в рамках данного доклада. Организация Объединенных Наций была создана по итогам Второй мировой войны, и многополярный мир сегодня переживает определенный кризис. Мы должны сегодня подтвердить многополярность мироустройства в 21 столетии и сделать это в том числе для того, чтобы не допустить террористических атак и для того, чтобы вместе создать мощную международную коалицию, главной задачей которой будет противодействие международному терроризму. Моя страна, Россия, делает все возможное для того, чтобы на территории Сирийской Арабской Республики и некоторых других стран были искоренены международные террористические группировки, не было создано террористическое государство. Мы нуждаемся сегодня в еще большем сотрудничестве со странами-членами нашей организации. Хочу напомнить, что стволовая задача, как об этом говорится в данном докладе нашей организации, это именно безопасность и сотрудничество в Европе. Сегодня, как говорят математики, эти задачи тождественно равны противодействию, в первую очередь, международному терроризму. Считаю, что данный доклад абсолютно системный, профессиональный. Хочу попросить поддержать наши поправки и приветствовать проведенную докладчиком прекрасную работу. Спасибо.
Спасибо большое. Next speaker is Mr. Abid Raya, Norway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would also like to thank my good friend Makis to done a very good work. Together, we've been sitting in CCT committee, and it's a great honor for me also to be saying that all Norwegian delegation will be are supporting this resolution. First of all, Mr. Chairman, we know that between 3,000 to 5,000 foreign fighters left Europe to fight for ISIL. We know many of them are back. They are, of course, a threat for the European security. What we also know is that it's been more than 150 plots and attacks in 15 different European countries the last 3 years. And we know that all of these attacks have been linked back to at least one foreign terrorist fighter. So we know that the people who've been there, who have done horrific criminal activities in ISIL, when they come back to Europe, they are a major threat to European security. This is a very important thing to be aware of. What we know is that people who are sitting in jail, in some countries they are getting some kind of, I won't say treatment, it's very difficult to say that you will be able to reintegrate many of these, but in some countries there are no programs whatsoever. This is also a major concern for us. Another concern is the children of European citizens who are born, either they are born in ISIL camps or they were taken to ISIL camps, and we know that they have been given militarily training. They are also been given ideologically training. And what kind of concern they will raise in European countries when they will come back, because they have the right to come back to European countries. This is also a major threat for Europe in the future. I think in the short term, we need to strengthen our borders. We need to look at the passenger name records, the advanced passenger information, and we need to work on information sharing across the borders. In the long term, I don't think it's any other way without working on the integration issues in Europe, that we know that the Muslims in Europe are not being integrated in the way we need them to integrate, and I'm saying that being Muslim myself from Norway. I think we need to change the narratives that Muslims are victims in Europe, because they are not. And we need to start early, because we know that angry children, they become angry youth, and angry youth, again, they will become angry adults. But, Mr. Chairman, this is also a situation that we don't have to just look at this as a Muslim problem. The radicalization is just not a Muslim problem. In Norway, we have suffered an attack 22nd of July 2011, where 77 people were killed by a white person, because he had two enemies, as he wrote in his manifest. One was the external enemy, that was Muslims, and then he had an internal enemy who he called traitors. So his attack was politically motivated to a political party, the Social Democrats, who he meant let the Muslim into the country. And now a great concern for us all should be the political rhetoric that we have been seeing all over across Europe, how the way the politicians are addressing Muslims or Roma people or other minorities. This is also a concern, because because this rhetoric will again in the next stage will also lead to another type of extremism, and we know that the Nazi movements or the far-right movements, they are growing in many countries. So I think this proposal that we have done now is a good first step. I hope this will be passed. And I think we need to work more on the broader ranges of the issues and come back to this in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Mr. Raya. And now we give the floor to Mr. Dean Allison, Canada.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would like to thank my Greek colleague for his sponsorship of this important resolution and for his leadership as chair of the Ad Hoc Committee on Counterterrorism. The terrorist threat is evolving and complex. While terrorist groups such as ISIS and Al-Qaeda continue to plan and execute elaborate attacks worldwide, lone actors or terrorist cells inspired by these groups are increasingly using low sophistication, high impact methods to carry out attacks, including car rammings and random stabbings. As lawmakers, I believe we must accord the very highest national priority to countering terrorism at every stage of its life cycle. By this, I mean we must counter terrorism recruitment and mobilization. We must counter funding and operational support. And finally, we must prosecute returning foreign fighters to the fullest extent of the law and make it impossible for them to resume their terrorist activities in our respective countries. Indeed, we must do everything possible to prosecute terrorists and hold them fully accountable for their abhorrent actions. As we have all come to understand, terrorism, violent extremism, and radicalization that leads to terrorism are each part of the continuum that requires a comprehensive and tightly coordinated response from the moment it begins. Simply put, it's not enough for each of us to commit to fighting every dimension of terrorism. To succeed, we must also lean on each other. We must ensure that radicalization is tackled at its source and its beginning stages before it is time to turn into violent terrorist activity. Only through close cooperation and sharing of information and best practices can we avoid failure. In this regard, I must again commend the work of the Ad Hoc Committee in promoting interparliamentary dialogue and encouraging whole of society resistance to terrorism. Adopting the resolution before us will ensure that the Ad Hoc Committee can continue to build on its initial efforts. This resolution also calls on the OSCE parliaments to remain a driving force for countering terrorism while safeguarding human rights. I believe Canadian parliamentarians have heeded this call and will continue to do so. I very much hope that each of you will support the valuable work of the Ad Hoc Committee by adopting this resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Et nous allons donner la parole à Monsieur Guy Tessier de la France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Mes chers collègues, je souhaiterais d'abord ici saluer les propositions de points supplémentaires de notre collègue Varoudis et le féliciter également pour les actions et projets qu'il mène avec le comité ad hoc de lutte contre le terrorisme. Tant la méthode que les axes de travail retenus par ce comité sont pertinents et complètent l'actualité. En effet, le niveau de vigilance face au terrorisme doit demeurer très élevé. Comme l'a dit toutefois notre collègue juste avant moi, Abid Raja, depuis la défaite essuyée par Daesh au Levant, la question des revenants ou Return Foreign Terrorist Fighter se pose de plus en plus. Mehdi Nemmouche, Omar Ismail Mostefai ou encore Bilal Hadjidj sont de tristes exemples. Ces combattants quittent les zones de conflit emportant avec eux leur idéologie mortifère, bien décidés à sévir dans tous les pays promouvant nos valeurs communes de liberté et de démocratie. Selon moi, le meilleur moyen de combattre ce risque terroriste est de favoriser les échanges de renseignements entre les membres des pays de l'OSCE. C'est la seule façon de garantir un meilleur suivi des djihadistes qui quittent le Levant et retournent dans leur pays d'origine, ou tout autre d'ailleurs, et demeurent des menaces pour la sécurité, pour notre sécurité. Ce meilleur échange d'informations passe notamment par l'instauration dans tous nos pays des systèmes dits d'API, Advanced Passenger Information, et de PNR, Passenger Name Record, qui permettent de transmettre les données des passagers, des compagnies aériennes, les données de vol évidemment, mais aussi les adresses et encore informations relatives aux cartes bancaires utilisées. Cela permet de tracer et de suivre les terroristes, mais parfois également de les relier à des actes terroristes ou découvrir des connexions entre terroristes. Je voudrais à cet égard ici saluer le travail du département des menaces transnationales de l'OSCE, dont l'un des rôles est d'aider les États membres à mettre en place de tels instruments de contrôle. Ces derniers devraient pouvoir être appliqués aux autres modes de transport, notamment ferroviaires et maritimes. Toutefois, il faut garder à l'esprit que de nombreux déplacements de terroristes se font tout simplement par voie terrestre. Et dans ce cas, seul le contrôle aux frontières permet de savoir qui entre ou sort d'un pays. Enfin, ces systèmes n'étant pas exhaustifs ni sans doute suffisants, je souhaiterais insister sur la coopération entre les services de renseignement de nos pays, lesquels, grâce à leur agence et aux agents sur le terrain, sont des éléments indispensables de localisation et de suivi des dits terroristes. Cette coopération doit être complète et facilitée afin d'être rapide, car seule l'anticipation peut permettre d'empêcher des massacres. Je vous remercie.
Merci, Monsieur Tessier. Floor is now to Mrs. Lisa Chambers from Ireland.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to begin by thanking Mr Viridis for bringing this draft resolution to the floor. As a member of the Committee on Countering Terrorism, it's been a privilege to work with him and with other members of the committee in what has been a very important body of work to date. I'd also like to pay thanks to Marco Bonabello, who's here today, who has done extremely huge amounts of work behind the scenes in getting our meetings set up. These things don't happen by chance, and a huge amount of work is done by Secretariat to facilitate us as members conducting our work. We've taken the time to try and understand where we as parliamentarians can add value and make a difference to our work as parliamentarians in terms of countering terrorism. And it is without a doubt an issue that affects every country. Every participating state within the OSCE is affected by this issue, some by differing amounts, but nonetheless we are all in this together. We have worked to understand and learn about the nature of the terrorism threat, what I suppose motivates people to go down that route, and what we can do to try and prevent radicalisation of younger people and try and prevent this threat taking effect in the first place. We've looked at prevention, we have looked at how young people become radicalised, and we're getting a better understanding as we go through our work as to what we should be looking at and how we should be tackling these issues. We've conducted some field visits to learn firsthand from different participating states as to what they are doing to try and counter terrorism and to deal with those that are being radicalised. More importantly, we took a trip to Belgium, to Brussels, and we did some interesting work around victims of terrorism and how they are treated and how we can work to try and help people that have become the victim of a terrorist attack. It's important, I would make the point, Chairman, it's very important that we don't misuse the word terrorism or manipulate the threat of terrorism, and that we don't propagate fear and use that word and that fear to try and demonise or dehumanise citizens and human beings. And it's important that as we look in particular to the migration crisis, that we don't use the potential threat of terrorism as a means to excluding people and to not treating people in a humane way. Interestingly, through our work, we've realised that there are differences across OSCE participating states and how we deal with this very serious issue. And we've done some work around how we can more effectively harmonise our processes and do better data collection, better border security, collecting passenger information, and working together in a global community to ensure that we do everything we can as participating states to ensure that our citizens and those that we represent are safe always. So to conclude, Chairman, I think that we need to improve harmonisation. I think there are things that we can do as parliamentarians in our home countries to improve how we deal with the terrorist threat and how we share information and work together. And as always, Chairman, prevention is much better than having to deal with the issue when it happens, and prevention is key. So I look forward to continuing my work on the committee, to working closely with our Chairman and the other members and with Secretariat to continuing what is a very important body of work, because this is just the beginning for OSCE. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Chambers. We now go to Mr. Fatmir Midiu, Albania.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me join the other colleagues on thanking our Chairman, Mr. Voridis, and his excellent team led by Marco Bonabello for informing and bringing us together and giving us a chance to discuss about very important issue of counterterrorism. And I see this resolution that is presented as very important after intensive work of Austrian presidency, but Mr. Voridis brought that in a that perspective of the work of parliamentarians, which will give us more proactive role in counterterrorism as parliamentarians, but also in the framework of OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. And the point about understanding the modern terrorism, I want to talk a little bit about the Balkans, especially the return of foreign fighters and violent extremism. The question is not just to have the laws and prosecute, but also to understand the roots of the problem. And in my belief, it started the radicalization in early 90s of religion affected by, different NGOs and religion that came out of Saudi Arabia, especially Wahhabis, and some humanitarian NGOs that were having a different agenda to radicalize our Muslim religion in the region. And also, one main problem is their economy, but I will add more, especially organized crime and corruption. Recently is also a tendency to influence and intervene in our Muslim religion in the Balkans, controlled by central countries that want to go centuries back at the time of Neo-Ottoman, which I think is a great concern for the moment, because religion freedom is important, but also, having a religion community that works according to religion beliefs, not controlled by the others, that can be used for political purpose or, other agendas, is also very, very important. I agree completely with my colleague from Norway and Lisa about, the issues that they raised, and especially about the resocialization of the process of the families of the foreign fighters and how we can deal with when they come back. And also another point, Saturday we were briefed from OSCE executive about API, PNR, and biometrics. It seems that, our governments have agreed to move on this important steps, but we don't see many countries having legislation in place and especially implementing it. So this is another part that we can play an important role, and we can take initiatives, especially to meet the requirements of working on that framework of API, PNR, and biometrics. This is what I wanted to, come up, and just want to thank one more Chairman Voridis and his team and, the committee working on this resolution. And I think this is going to be a very good step for parliamentarians to be more proactive on counterterrorism. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to give the floor to Господин Nikolai Ryzhak, Russian Federation.
Уважаемые коллеги, в последнее время Россия провела ряд международных конференций с участием Министерства иностранных дел, Министерства обороны, где обобщался опыт борьбы с боевыми организациями и структурами террористов, и вырабатывались меры по созданию единого антитеррористического фронта на основе норм международного права. Я специально подчеркиваю, на основе норм международного права. Вот и сегодня мы обсуждали одну из поправок, где мы поставили вопрос о нераспространении ядерного оружия на территории неядерных государств. Вы понимаете, мы неспроста поставили и отставили эту позицию, потому что химическое оружие попало в руки террористов, и оружие массового поражения, еще более губительное для человечества, тоже может оказаться в руках террористов. И вот, к сожалению, инициатива представителя Словакии увела в сторону всех участников, и вы поддержали, квалифицировав это как достоинство и завоевание демократии. Это опасная попытка. Мы же нарушили основной договор, регламентирующий порядок неразмещения ядерного оружия на неядерных территориях. Вы понимаете, какую политическую ошибку мы вместе с вами допустили? Второе. Мы считаем, что важнейшей задачей противодействия международному терроризму является пресечение и предупреждение глобального распространения террористической и экстремистской идеологии, а также их пропаганды. Это очень важный момент. Мы поддерживаем практику проведения ежегодных антитеррористических конференций ОБСЕ, позитивно оцениваем результаты проведенной под итальянским председательством в мае сего года в Риме антитеррористической конференции и поддерживаем сформулированные по итогам насыщенной дискуссии основных приоритетов. Это очень важно. Мы обращаем внимание участников нынешнего совещания на выработанный Россией и нашими единомышленниками по ШОС оптимального стандарта международного антиэкстремистского сотрудничества, действительно фундаментальную и новаторскую концепцию по противодействию экстремизму. Она уже поддержана участниками государствами ШОС в Астане. Важное значение этого договора – нацеленность на предупреждение экстремистских преступлений как покушения на законную власть, причем как в насильственных формах, так и в ненасильственных. В настоящее время идет процесс ратификации. Предлагаем партнерам по ОБСЕ внимательно изучить этот документ. Он носит открытый характер и готов принять вас в числе своих участников желательных. Благодарю за внимание.
Спасибо большое. Now we go to the last speaker of this list, господин Бактовар Савардзода from Tajikistan.
Огромное спасибо, господин председатель, за предоставленное слово и особую благодарность стороны Таджикистана докладчику за предоставление особо актуальный доклад по действительно существующую и реальную угрозу современного общества и всех государств мира. Мы особо поддерживаем пункты 8 и 9 предоставленного доклада, в частности, в том пункте, который обязывает все государства-участники воздерживаться от предоставления поддержки в любой форме, активной или пассивной, организациям или лицам, замешанным в террористических актах. Но, увы, практика правоприменения в государствах участников ОБСЕ показывает, что в деле обстоятельства стоит чуть иное. Как мы знаем, в сентябре 2015 года под непосредственным руководством и финансовой организации экстремистской террористической организации «Партия исламского возрождения Таджикистана» была попытка реального военного переворота в Республике Таджикистан, который, к нашему счастью, венчалась неуспехом. Но все организаторы, руководители данной экстремистской террористической организации нашли поддержку в качестве политического убежища, беженца, в качестве в другом статусе, особенно в государствах участников ОБСЕ. Имейте в виду, что лицо, которое делал террористические акты и попытка военного переворота в мирное время в своей родине, относительно своих граждан, относительно сына своего, семьи своего и всех сограждан, у них нет никакой ценности относительно другого государства, особенно относительно тех государств, которые предоставили ему убежище в качестве политического беженца, особенно в государствах Европы. Практика террористических актов европейских государств показывает, что именно эти лица в европейских государствах осуществляют террористические акты, используя и автобусы, и транспорты, и ножи, и все подручные средства, чтобы осуществлять или же реализовывать идеологии, которые финансируются, увы, со стороны других организаций. Это в судебном или правовом форме в Республике Таджикистан и в других республиках доказано, что данные организации осуществляют идеологию Даиш, Джабхат ан-Нусра и другие движения, которые имеют своей целью, центральной целью создать исламского халифата в государствах. Поэтому, пользуясь удобным панелем своих коллег-парламентариев, участвующих парламентариев, прошу, чтобы содействовать через правительственные свои структуры, организованно содействовать в антитеррористической деятельности или борьбе с терроризмом, особенно по вот этим экстремистско-террористическим организациям, которые объявлены судебным образом, объявлены террористическим организациям. У нас есть конкретные материалы. После окончания вот этого заседания я хочу распространить и прошу, что в государствах как бы содействовать в распространении и узнать правильное лицо этих организаций. Спасибо.
Спасибо большое. With this, we have closed the list of interventions. I would like to ask Mr. Makis Voridis for his comments.
I sincerely want to thank you all for your kind words. And I must say that we understand in the committee those kind words as a decision that our Parliamentary Assembly will stay in the forefront of the fight against terrorism in our broader organization in the OSCE. And we're going to be working very close with the executive structures, but I must tell you, we are not going to say, I said that in the plenary, I have the opportunity just to briefly refer to that. I don't want us to stay just in the voting of this supplementary item or any kind of resolution. I want the Parliamentary Assembly and us parliamentarians to make a difference on that issue and to really to add value. And we can do that if we're all on the same track, on board, in controlling our governments, pressing our governments, asking our governments to fulfill their international obligations in order to have secure borders, in order to deal with terrorism, in order to implement the API in the PNR and the biometrics. And I want you all to exert pressure on that issue, and we're going to be writing to you on how to do that. And you're going to hear from our committee in that direction. And just think of the impact of our assembly, of OSCE EPA, 57 delegations, parliamentarians from 57 different parliaments pressing the same question on 57 different governments, asking them to do what they are obliged to do, what they said that they will do, to implement it in order to secure the life of our citizens. I think that's very important, and this is the direction that we're going to go with your support and with your help.
Evcharisto. We move to now the consideration of the 5 amendments submitted to the draft resolution. Copies of the amendments have been made available. The correct version is entitled AS18SI4 Amend. In discussing amendments, I will call the proposer of the amendment or amendments first, and then we'll call any opponent of the amendment. I ask speakers to observe a time limit of 1 minute. I will then ask the sponsor of the draft resolution, Mr. Voridis, for his opinion. Following that, I shall put the amendment to the vote. We have no proposed amendments to paragraphs 1 to 5. Can we agree on those paragraphs? That's the case. Adopted. For the first amendment concerning paragraph 5, adding a new paragraph after paragraph 5, there is an amendment introduced by Mrs. Charalambides from Cyprus. Is she present? No. Any other member of the Cyprus delegation? No. Mr. Pichtuk, Belarus. Pulsak, Czech Republic. Madame Bonneau van Dorme, France. Monsieur Tessier. Monsieur Tessier est là. Comme 8e co-signataire, vous avez l'honneur de défendre ces amendements. Êtes-vous d'accord?
Bon, écoutez, je crois, Monsieur le Président, pour essayer de suppléer à Madame Charalambides, qu'il est probablement impératif, qu'il s'agit même d'une nécessité pour les États participants de réaffirmer leur engagement et de renforcer leur action en faveur d'un traitement efficace des causes premières du terrorisme. Cela va sans doute sans dire, mais ça va peut-être mieux en le disant.
Ceci est bien dit. Anyone opposing to this amendment? I see no opposition. Mr. Varidis?
I think we don't have any objection in the sense of the, let's say, of the wording of that or of addressing the root cause of terrorism. I will oppose this amendment. I'll tell you why, not for reasons of substance, because on the substantial issue we agree, but because we have included that at paragraph 21. Paragraph 21 reads, emphasizing the importance and the comprehensive approach to preventing and countering terrorism aimed at effectively addressing all internal and external conditions conducive to their spread. This is United Nations wording, and we'd like to keep it homogeneous, exactly because this is the, let's say, agreement among member states that we keep this kind of wording. So, yes, on the essence, obviously we all agree, but I'd like to stick to the wording that's been negotiated in UN and also in OSCE executive structures. So that's why I oppose this amendment.
Thank you. The sponsor opposes the amendment. We will proceed to a vote. Who is in favor of Amendment 1 may please raise his voting card. Who is in favor? One more. Thank you. Who is against Amendment 1, please? Thank you. Abstentions? Thank you. The amendment is rejected by 30 votes to 17 and 5 abstentions. 30 votes to 7 and 5 abstentions. Thank you. We have no amendments to paragraph 6 to 14. Can we agree upon these paragraphs? There are no objections, so decided. Thank you. Amendment 2, I call, it goes about replacing paragraph 15 with a new text. I call Mr. Sobor from Hungary to propose Amendment 2.
Ja. Meine Damen und Herren, meine Kollegin Katalin Csöbör ist nicht da. Deswegen möchte ich unsere Entscheidung vertreten. Ich heiße Zoltán Fenyvesi von der ungarischen Delegation. Wir sind mit den Einverstanden einverstehen. Vielen Dank dafür. Aber wir möchten 2 Sätze pünktlich machen, ein bisschen modifizieren. Erstens, wir sollen den Termin berücksichtigen. Also wir möchten, dass die Folge auftauschen werden. Zweitens, auch in diesem Paragraph möchten wir deutlich machen, dass die Terroristen mit den Kämpfen, also die kämpfen oft mit Migranten zusammen nach Europa kommen. Das müssen wir deutlich sagen, deutlich machen. Das ist also unsere Modifizierung. Vielen Dank.
Danke Ihnen. Möchte jemand dagegen sprechen? Bitte. Ich habe 2 Wortmeldungen. Ladies first. Bon, let's go. Ireland.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I would like to speak against this amendment, following on from my points made earlier that we need to be very careful what path we go down in terms of misusing and perpetrating fear and justifying the mistreatment of migrants for the purposes of preventing a terrorist threat that may not actually exist. I think it's very obvious that those that are coming through our borders via the sky or via land use many different methods to get there. But to put this explicitly in the resolution, I think goes to the very heart of one of the major threats of terrorism, and that is its misuse. And painting young children as being disguised as a threat to our countries is not the path that we want to go down. And I would oppose this amendment, Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Main Sponsor.
Thank you. Let me, actually this amendment, what it does is it adds the words that sometimes disguised as migrants concerning the FTF, so the return of the foreign fighters. Let me oppose this amendment on two grounds. On a factual ground, which is normally the FTFs, they do use their nationality in order to come back, so they are not disguised. On the opposite, they just say that they are French nationals or Belgian nationals, so they are not pretending to be migrants. And the second thing is, to tell you the truth, we don't really care if they're disguised in migrants or in businessmen or whatever they are disguised. We care that the FTFs must be stopped at a secure border control with sharing of information in order not to endanger our countries and our citizens. It is true that there are relationships at a certain point with migratory flows and routes, but we must not stress on that. What we must stress is security on the border. So that's why I oppose this amendment.
Thank you very much. We have to proceed to a vote. Who would like to support Amendment 2? Please raise a voting card. Those in favor of Amendment 2? Okay. Who is against Amendment 2? Please raise the cards. Thank you. Abstentions? So the amendment is defeated by 37 votes against 15 and 1 abstention. Thank you. The paragraph 15 stays as proposed by the sponsor. There are no amendments proposed to paragraphs 16 to 33. Can we now agree upon these paragraphs? I see no objections, so decided. Amendment 3. In paragraph 34, replace some words. The amendment is introduced by Mr. Cavallio. Is Mr. Cavallio present? I don't think so. I haven't seen
Да,
him.
господин Рыжак будет представлять эту поправку.
Please, you have the floor.
Нам очень импонирует позиция господина Варидиса относительно придерживаться норм международного права. Вот мы в этом духе хотели бы внести некоторые изменения. Заменить слова операциями ОБСЕ на местах следующей формулировкой: в рамках существующих мандатов и имеющихся ресурсов. Эта формулировка более благозвучная и точно соответствует всем нормам международного права. Благодарю вас.
Спасибо большое. Anyone wanting to speak against this amendment? I see nobody. Rapporteur, main sponsor, please.
Thank you. This amendment seeks to replace the word field operations. It's including OSCE institutions and field operations. That is OSCE field operations, and intends to exclude the field operation and replace it with the wording within existing mandates and available resources. Now, I don't want field operations to be erased from the text. I think field operations are very crucial for OSCE. We should be supporting them. They're doing an amazing work. It's very vital for the value of our broader organization. So I want field operations to stay in. I don't have a problem within existing mandates and available resources. I don't have a problem with this wording, and I will accept it, this wording, in a follow-up amendment, which is amendment number 5. I will accept this type of wording, but I want field operations to stay in. That's why I oppose this amendment.
Thank you very much. Positions are clear. We may proceed to the vote. Who would like to support amendment number 3, please raise the voting card. Those in favor of amendment 3.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Thank you. Those who oppose, who reject Amendment 3, please raise the cards. I think it's overwhelming majority. We can renounce counting. Abstentions? None. 1. Okay, 2. Okay, overwhelmingly rejected. We come to amendment number 4 concerning paragraph 35. The amendment is introduced by Господин Tolstoy. You have the floor. Господин Slutsky.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. On me propose en paragraphe 35 ajouter les mots sur la base de principe de responsabilité nationale pour la stratégie et programme pour la lutte avec le terrorisme. Ça, c'est un amendement rédactionnel, mais meilleur pour ce paragraphe. On vous demande de soutenir l'amendement. Merci.
Merci, Monsieur Slutsky. Anyone wanting to speak against the amendment? None. Mr. Voridis.
I agree with the amendment. It does make the text better, so I accept this amendment.
Thank you. There is no opposition. We can also accept this amendment number 5 in paragraph 35. Thank you. We come to amendment number 5 to paragraph 43. The word is to Mr. Rizak, Russian Federation.
Благодарю. Ну, мы учли замечания господина Варидиса и целиком согласны с его инициативой. Мы переносим и как раз вот в пункте 3 заменяем слова «согласно соответствующим резолюциям Совета Безопасности ООН и соответствующим обязательствам в рамках ОБСЕ». Следующим. Согласно соответствующим резолюциям Совета Безопасности, в частности, резолюции мы конкретизируем 2354, соответствующими обязательствами в рамках ОБСЕ, а также предлагает исполнительным структурам ОБСЕ в рамках своих мандатов и имеющихся ресурсов и в дополнение к текущим усилиям ООН. То есть как раз то, о чем он говорил, полностью корреспондируется. Благодарю.
Spasiba. Anyone willing to speak against this amendment? Mr. Varidis.
Let me take this opportunity to thank the Russian Federation for the active engagement in working in this text, and also to say how we regret that Mr. Kovalev, who didn't have our Vice President, was not able to be here with us, and we hope that he's going to be working with us soon. We wish him the best. So in that amendment, in principle, I have no problem. The only thing I don't like is a wording issue, which reads as follows: in line with the relevant UNSC resolution, in particular UNSCR 2354. The only problem I have there is that we have exactly mentioning the same UNSCR 23454, 2 lines downstairs in the text. So what do I propose, and this is an oral amendment in the amendment, is if we delete in particular UNSCR 2354, and that's only because it is already mentioned in this paragraph, this United Nations Security Council resolution. So I don't want it to have the same resolution stated twice in the same paragraph. So if you agree, we delete in particular UNSCR 2354 because it's stated below, and otherwise I don't have a problem. I agree with the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Voridis. I take it is as an oral amendment. Does anyone oppose to the oral amendment? No objection, so we can consider this oral amendment. Do you agree that we modify the text of amendment of paragraph 43 in the way as it has been proposed by Mr. Voridis? I see no objection, so we modify this paragraph. And now I ask to the Russian Federation, Mr. Rizak, whether under this condition he wants to maintain the amendment or to withdraw the amendment. Mr. Rizak.
У нас нет принципиальных возражений, тем более, что основная идея, она присутствует. Так что мы здесь солидарны с господином Варидисом. Спасибо ему за это.
Thank you very much. The amendment is withdrawn. The paragraph 43 is modified in the form which has been agreed upon between Mr. Rizak and Mr. Varidis. Are there oppositions? None, so decided. I made a mistake before because I didn't ask you, since there are no amendments to paragraph 36 to 42, if we may agree with the paragraphs in the form they are proposed by the main sponsor. No objection, so decided. 43. So I consider that there are no amendments also on paragraphs 44 to 50. Do you agree with these paragraphs? So they are unanimously adopted. Now we have to move formally to a vote on the draft resolution as amended in globo. Would those in favor of adopting the draft resolution as amendment please raise their voting cards? Vote sur l'ensemble. Gesamtabstimmung. Okay, thank you. Those who are against this resolution as amended, please raise the voting card. I see none. Abstentions? Eine Enthaltung. So I considered we have passed the resolution by 49 votes, 0 against, and 1 abstention. Thank you, Mr. Voridis. Thank you all for participating. We now move to consideration of the second supplementary item referred to us by the Standing Committee, titled 10 years after the August 2008 war in Georgia. There is one amendment to this item. I give the floor first to Mrs. Katsarava from Georgia to sponsor his draft resolution. Mrs. Katsarava, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This year we mark 10 years since the August 2008 war and subsequent military occupation of Georgia's sovereign regions of Abkhazia and Tkhinvali. The war in 2008 was a culmination of the conflict which started in the early 90s, resulting in tragic loss of innocent lives and several waves of ethnic cleansing and forcible displacement of up to 300,000 persons from their homes. Conflict in Europe shares similarities, particularly when it comes to infringement of sovereignty and territorial integrity of neighboring states by the Russian Federation. This dangerous pattern of arbitrary alteration of international borders poses a significant threat not only to Georgia and Russia's other neighbors, but to the strategic vision of Europe, whole, free and at peace. Almost 3 decades have passed since the start of the conflict, but no result has been achieved in terms of its resolution. This is partly due to the inadequate response to the root causes and the consequences of the conflict. It is paradoxical that instead of further strengthening international presence necessary for monitoring the situation on the ground following the August war, Georgia lost even the minimal existing safeguards, as in 2009, both the OSCE mission and UNAMIG in Georgia were unilaterally blocked by Russia. Following their closure, the EU monitoring mission remains the only international mechanism on the ground that yet unable to implement its mandate in full due to denied access to the occupied territories. In this context, the proposed text stresses the urgent need for the creation of international security mechanisms and calls upon the OSCE chairperson in office to strengthen its efforts towards the re-establishment of a full-fledged OSCE presence with access to the entire territory of Georgia within its internationally recognized borders. Among other important provisions, the item before us calls for achieving tangible results in the Geneva international discussions, reaffirms the necessity of full implementation of the EU-mediated 12 August 2008 ceasefire agreement, and condemns grave human rights violations in the occupied regions, including and not limited to the killings of Georgian citizens. The proposed document is not the first text on Georgia adopted by this Parliamentary Assembly, as over the recent years this very chamber has adopted a number of very strong worded resolutions and declarations on the mentioned issues. Dear colleagues, my government remains committed to the peaceful policy of reconciliations and confidence building. This draft reaffirms strong support for the peace initiative, a step to a better future recently announced by my government. The initiative is aimed at improving the humanitarian and socio-economic conditions of people residing in the occupied regions, as well as fostering people-to-people contacts and confidence building between the divided communities. It is with such forward-looking initiatives that we seek a way ahead, and we need strong support of the international community in our pursuit to the peaceful resolution of the conflict. In conclusion, I would like to once again encourage my colleagues to support this important draft proposal. Thank you.
Mrs. Katsarava. The floor is now open for debate. Time limit for speeches is 3 minutes. I give the floor as the first one to Mr. Refat Chubarov, Ukraine.
Уважаемый председатель, уважаемые коллеги, прежде всего слова благодарности автору резолюции госпоже Софии Кацарава за ее усилия и высокий профессионализм. Российско-грузинскую войну принято рассматривать с разных точек зрения. Однако есть аспекты, которые носят настолько очевидный характер, что именно им мы должны уделять особое внимание с целью упреждения новых конфликтов в регионе ОБСЕ, а также устранения последствий уже случившихся конфликтов. Среди таких очевидных аспектов российско-грузинской войны 2008 года является факт вторжения российских войск на территорию суверенной Грузии и предпринятый этими войсками марш на Тбилиси. Международное сообщество ни тогда, ни впоследствии не сделало серьезных выводов из факта открытого военного вторжения России на территорию суверенного государства. Остался также безнаказанным факт принятия обеими палатами Федерального собрания Российской Федерации обращений к президенту России с предложением признать независимость Абхазии и Южной Осетии. Эта безнаказанность поощрила новые преступления со стороны российских парламентариев образца 2014 года, когда они своим решением дали согласие президенту России ввести войска в Украину. Таким образом, неостановленная в 2008 году неостановленная военная агрессия России против Грузии и полное игнорирование Россией норм международного права сделали возможным вторжение российских войск в конце февраля 2014 года и в последующие месяцы на территорию Украины, оккупацию и незаконную аннексию Крыма. Уважаемые коллеги, каждый из вас может задаться вопросом. Август 2008 год, Грузия. Февраль 2014 год, Украина. Попытайтесь сами ответить на эти вопросы. А именно, кто и когда будет следующей жертвой российской агрессии. Мы, украинские парламентарии, искренне желаем всем государствам и народам избежать тех трагедий, что были привнесены в августе 2008 года на территорию Грузии, а в феврале 2014 года и в последующие месяцы на территорию Украины со стороны Российской Федерации. Разумеется, мы осознаем, насколько нелегким является путь по устранению последствий неостановленных вовремя российских военных вторжений, поощрений сепаратизма, оккупации и незаконных аннексий. Но у нас нет сомнений в том, что мы шаг за шагом и, главное, вместе решим проблему восстановления территориальной целостности как Украины, так и Грузии, что будет полностью соответствовать принципам и ценностям ОБСЕ. Благодарю за внимание.
Дякую. We give the floor to Mr. Zurab Chaberashvili from Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colleagues, let me start by thanking Ms. Sofia Katsarava for sponsoring draft resolution. 10 years after the 2008 war, abduction of Georgian citizens across occupation line has become ordinary business of the Russian Federation's occupying forces and their local proxies. Abduction happens not monthly basis, not even a weekly basis, but sometimes it takes place several days in a row. These acts are already worrisome, but it turns into the real tragedy when Russian soldier, by the way, identified already, shoots to death Gigaut Khozoria on the crossing on the occupation line. When Russia's proxies in South Ossetia abduct Archil Tatunashvili, torture him, kill him, and refuse to return the body to family for several weeks. When 18-year-old David Basharuli disappears from a detention facility in Akhalgori and is found dead 6 months later. Now, question is how OSCE, how Parliamentary Assembly of OSCE can contribute to stopping these inhuman, violent acts. I agree with the spirit of the proposed resolution that by condemning these acts, by stressing the responsibilities of the Russian Federation as an occupying power, by urging Russian Federation to meet its international obligations, we can contribute to containing the occupying power and their proxies to continue such violent acts. And Mr. Chairman, Georgian Parliament 2 months ago adopted bipartisan resolution which calls on Georgian executive authorities to continue. We know that Russian Federation is not helpful to investigate fully these acts, but a resolution calls on the executive branch of the Georgian government to continue investigation in order to prosecute the preparators of these acts, and we think that by adopting this resolution, OSCE Parliamentary Assembly also contributes in this regard. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you. The next speaker is Mr. Mark Pritchard from United Kingdom.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. The United Kingdom delegation would like to stand with our friends and colleagues and partners from Georgia. The situation may not be kinetic on the ground, but nevertheless, the aggression by Russia continues by other means. And the UK completely recognises the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Georgia. And as our colleague from Ukraine has perhaps alluded to, if the international community in 2008 had been more robust and been more forceful in its response to Russian aggression, then perhaps Georgia would not be in the position that it is in today, and certainly may not have seen the occupation either of Donbass and Crimea. And I think it's important today, as we look at the 100 years since the first democratic republic of Georgia, 100 years ago, to recognize that this is a time for the whole of Europe to stand together in renewing sanctions when they are next to be renewed, to be resilient and robust in standing together, united against aggression. Again, as our colleague has suggested from Ukraine, where next? Who next? And of course, we know that our colleagues in the Baltics are being supported by many countries here through various military missions, but they themselves have, through hybrid attacks, indeed other capitals in this country, in this room, have been attacked over the last few years. So we need to stand united. But on the particular issue of human rights, I think it is absolutely vital that Russia should end its objection through the de facto authorities in Abkhazia and South Ossetia to the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights granting access to South Ossetia and Abkhazia. And as we were reminded by our Georgian colleague, there was an abduction. There continues to be abductions of Georgian citizens, many of whom still have relatives and friends in those occupied areas. There was an illegal interrogation. There was a torture, and torture continues. And it's absolutely right that this assembly should condemn such action. I have to say that even though the United Kingdom is leaving the European Union, we are not leaving Europe. And in fact, we will engage more through NATO as a member of the P5, as one of the G7, as one of the largest militaries and economies in the world. We will continue to stand up for human rights, democracy, and the rule of law through peaceful and diplomatic means, but we will never shy away from supporting our partners in the region militarily if we have to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last speaker on the list is Господин Nikolai Rizhak, the Russian Federation.
Уважаемый председатель, уважаемые участники конференции, нам бы, конечно, не хотелось связываться в эту дискуссию, потому что она носит явно политизированный характер, но, тем не менее, на отдельные реплики мы просто не можем не ответить. Скажите мне, пожалуйста, кто же все-таки инициировал вероломное нападение грузинской регулярной армии на Южную Осетию и Абхазию? Это случилось под утро, ночью. И наши более 100 миротворцев, которые были размещены по согласованию с руководством Грузии, были уничтожены. Кто думает о судьбах этого миротворческого контингента? Молчок. Мы говорим о правах человека. Вот они были нарушены и нормы международного права, и права конкретных людей, которые погибли, которые стояли на линии разведения этих сторон. Сейчас диалог в какой-то степени налаживается, но грузинская сторона упорно отказывается иметь диалог и поддерживать этот диалог с участниками этого конфликта, с руководством и Абхазии, и Южной Осетии. Мы призываем, что это ваше дело, это ваше внутреннее дело. И напоминаю, что президенты Медведев и Саркози в то время все сделали для того, чтобы восторжествовали принципы мирного урегулирования. Российские войска были немедленно выведены с территории Грузии, а ведь могло в ответ случиться непредвиденное. Ведь столица Грузии уже была в 30 километрах. И вот это вероломное нападение могло получить обратную силу. Но мы этого не сделали, понимая и ценя суверенитет этой страны. Поэтому я всегда говорю о том, что давайте будем взаимно вежливы, давайте будем отвечать за свои слова, потому что нам жить в этом регионе, нам надо находить точки соприкосновения и точные, выверенные шаги по выводу и по разрешению вот этих конфликтов. Благодарю за внимание.
Спасибо, спасибо. I would like Mrs. Sofiko Kasarava to have a comment if she wants on what has been said so far.
I would like to thank my colleagues from Ukraine, Britain, and my colleague from Georgia as well. And we already said our position, which everybody knows, and it's not something new that we have introduced. As I said earlier, OSCE Parliamentary Assembly supported similar resolutions. But the novelty in this particular resolution is precisely the new peace initiative and our new vision to build, to support the conflict resolution process. And this is something that we would like you to support, obviously, amongst other critically important issues that we have reflected in our draft. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Mrs. Kasarava. we can move to consideration of only one amendment submitted to the draft resolution. Copies of the amendment have been made available. The correct version is entitled AS 18 SI 9 amend. I call the proposer of the amendment first, and then I will call any opponent of the amendment. For the German delegation, for the amendment, please.
Ja, vielen Dank, Herr Vorsitzender. Ich übernehme das gerne in Vertretung von Frau Barnett, nochmal unseren Änderungsantrag vorzutragen. In der Tat haben wir heute schon viel darüber gesprochen, wie wichtig der Dialog ist. Und im Dialog ist immer auch die Wortwahl entscheidend. Wir wehren uns hier gegen den Begriff des Killings, weil er unterstellt, dass es hier um gezielte Tötungen geht. Unsere Freunde aus Georgien haben eben aber selber vorgetragen, dass es mindestens in einem Fall bei den genannten Personen noch zu unklaren Todesursachen gekommen ist, beziehungsweise wir dies nicht so abschließend bewerten können, dass unterstellt werden darf, dass dieses ganz gezielt Tötungen sind. Wir haben deshalb einen Änderungsvorschlag eingebracht, der dies noch mal deutlich machen soll. Und ich möchte Ihnen vorschlagen, den ersten Teil des Satzes entsprechend zu streichen und von Cases und von Deaths of the Georgian Citizens zu sprechen, aber nicht zu unterstellen, dass es um gezielte Tötungen gab, gerade wenn es Unklarheiten in dieser Sache gab. Vielen Dank.
Danke sehr. Möchte jemand gegen diesen Antrag sprechen? Meldet sich niemand. Frau Kaczarava, bitte. You have the floor.
Thank you. I understand the point made by our German colleagues, but as Mr. Chiaberashvili already spoke about it, we are talking about the killings of Georgian citizens, and these are facts. And when we are talking about specifically about Mr. Tatunashvili's case, just recently, I do not want to reiterate what has been said already, but we had the conclusion of the expertise suggesting and proving that Tatunashvili died of torture. And we have created a special list approved, and that's a bipartisan resolution which was adopted by the Parliament of Georgia, imposing sanction of those who are involved in these incidents against Georgian citizens. What I would like to say by that is that these facts are known to the international community, and we would like to raise this concern in the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, the fact which is known to all our partners, and we need that support from OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, particularly in this provision, which is crucially important for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Positions are clear. We may proceed to the vote. Who is willing to support amendment number 1, revising thereby paragraph 14, is requested to show it by raising the voting card. Those in favor, wer unterstützt, ceux qui soutiennent, coloro che sostengono, los que quieren apoyar. Apoyar. Bueno. Thank you. Those who reject the amendment, please raise the voting cards. Thank you. Abstentions? So the amendment is rejected by 18 votes to 16 and 5 abstentions. 18 to 15, 5 abstentions. Dear colleagues, we now finish with the amendments to this supplementary item. I ask you, I didn't ask, but I ask you if you agree, since there were no amendments, as all the other paragraphs are accepted, it is the case. So we will now have to move to the approval of the resolution as a whole and as amendment. Those in favor of this resolution, which was not amended finally, without amendments, those in favor of the resolution, please raise the voting cards. Thank you. Those against the resolution as a whole? Thank you. Abstentions? Thank you. The resolution has been adopted by 45 votes in favor, 3 against, and 5 abstentions. Thank you, dear colleagues. Thank you to Mrs. Casarava for introducing this supplementary item. And thank all of you for the engaged discussion. We will now conclude our work for today, and we continue with the remaining 3 supplementary items tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.